A teenager was shot at an unpermitted music festival. Cooperative movement in Sarawak generates income. Get vaccinated immediately if bitten by dogs. Those are the headlines for tonight. I'm Lorenzo Isaac and this is TVS Nightline. A teenager was found dead while 3 others were injured, including a police officer following a shooting at an unpermitted music festival in Washington, D.C. Victims were rushed to the hospital. Authorities disclosed that the suspect is still at large.
So right now we had 3 civilian persons that were shot, 2 adults, 1 juvenile, and then 1 police officer who was shot. The police officer is recovering from an area hospital. 2 of the victims are also recovering at an area hospital. 1 victim at this point, a juvenile victim, it appears that juvenile is deceased at this point. Unfortunately, we recovered several firearms in this area, to include a firearm off of one of the persons who was shot in this incident.
Robert also noticed a pattern among the many public shootings, as these illegal firearms are possessed by people whose motive is to create nuisance. He ensured that thorough investigation will be carried out for justice to be served. Columbia District Mayor Muriel Bowser seconded Robert's statement.
I just want to echo what the chief said. We have a child who was killed today at an event that did not have any proper planning for the number of people who are here, and with guns involved, and with our police managing a crowd on site, somebody used a gun and a child is dead. And so the chief and I will continue to make sure we have the resources we need on these corridors and all of our corridors, but we need some accountability here.
Cooperatives in Sarawak have gained in revenue worth 311.1 million ringgit as of December 31st last year. Statistics from the Malaysia Cooperative Societies Commission of Malaysia (SKM) state a total of 1,109 cooperatives operating in Sarawak, with assets worth 636.4 million ringgit, apart from share ownership and fees amounting to 216.5 million ringgit. Sarawak Deputy Premier Dato' Amar Awang Teng Halia, son cum Minister of International Trade, Industry and Investment, pointed out that the cooperative movement is able to improve the economic outlook nationwide.
SKM sebagai satu agensi di bawah Kementerian Pembangunan Usahawan dan Koperasi Malaysia sentiasa berusaha untuk memastikan setiap koperasi berdaftar dapat mencapai objektif sepenuhnya, termasuklah membantu ekonomi rakyat yang berpendapatan rendah. Inisiatif berterusan yang dilaksanakan oleh SKM ini.
He said this at the opening ceremony of the Sarawak State Level National Cooperative Day 2022 and the Years of Cooperative Movement in Malaysia celebration on Monday. Meanwhile, he said the state cooperative movement could be further strengthened through the collaboration that had been outlined under the Post-COVID-19 Development Strategy 2030 implemented by the Sarawak State Government starting last year. Awang Tengah said that the strategy aimed to further develop Sarawak's economy at least twofold by 2030, with the aspiration of making the state a developed and high-income status by that year. Public are told to seek immediate treatment against rabies after being bitten by a canine. Sarawak Deputy Premier Datuk Sri Dr. Sim Kui Hian stressed that the vaccination reduced the risk of fatality.
if you bitten by dogs, you quickly go to the hospital. And to get vaccinations. If you get vaccinations, almost 99% you don't die. 99.9%. But if you don't get vaccinated, once the rabies reach your brain, 99.9% you die. So that's why don't treat any dog bites, right? Just dog bites. Because we do not know whether the dog has rabies or not.
Dr. Sim, who is also the Public Health, Housing and Local Government Minister, said children, being smaller in stature, have a high risk of survival after being bitten by rabies-infected dogs.
And that's why you see the young children, they die of rabies faster. Because the rabies move 1 millimeter per day. So if you're very tall, it takes a long time to reach your brain. If you have small children, very fast it reach your brain. And that's why don't wait. And don't think that, small children or what, tell them that if dog bites, we go to the hospital to get vaccinations.
At the same time, Dr. Sim urged pet owners to vaccinate their pets against rabies regularly, in which the vaccine would only be effective within a year. He said that the vaccine is similar to the COVID-19 vaccine, where a second dose and a booster shot are acquired. Meanwhile, the Cebu Division Disaster Management Committee reported that 12 cases, or 92%, reported have occurred in rural areas. Now, the National Farmers Organization NAFAS will be collaborating with the state government at addressing issues pertaining to food security. This includes the commercialization of commodities such as rice, coconut and corn.
Dan NAFAS lah tu kita mengeluarkan baju padi untuk pesawat di seluruh negara. Kita ada kilang di gurun. Kapasiti kita hampir 300,000 metrik tan dan 40 metrik tan 40,000 kita hantar ke Sabah, Sarawak. Oleh kerana jarak jauh untuk menyelesaikan masalah ini, NAFAS pada dasarnya kita akan bersamalah dengan Selkra yang ada kilang baja untuk kita buat bersama antara Sekra, NAFAS dan juga PPN Sarawak.
Zamri told the press after paying a courtesy call to Sarawak's Premier Datuk Patinggi Tan Sri Abang Johari Tun Openg at Wisma Bapa Malaysia on Monday, June 20th. He added that the collaboration was agreed by the Premier himself.
Premier dia bersetuju, amat bersetuju lah dengan cadangan kita. Kita juga cadang nak buka ladang lah juga dengan tanah NCR tanah adat. Dia kata kalau itu kita akan bekerjasama juga dengan PPN dan juga kerajaan negeri untuk pembangunan tanah NCR.
Annually, Malaysia imports more than 26 billion ringgit of corn. Also present during the courtesy call are Minister of Modern Agriculture and Regional Development, Datuk Sri Dr. Stephen Rundi Uttom, and his Deputy Minister, Datuk Dr. Abdul Rahman Ismail. Sarawak will continue to strive for the restoration of health and education rights as enshrined under Malaysia Agreement 1963. The autonomous power would put forward Sarawak's interests to protect and preserving its unique identity while building on self-reliance in both sectors.
For health and education, you can see that last time when our Premier wants to repair the schools, the dilapidated school, we still have to give the money to federal government. We cannot go and build our own because the federal education and health is under the, even though we said the money comes from Sarawak, we don't want people in Sarawak to continue to suffer because they always said no money, but we still need the permission to build.
He stressed that Sarawak is also entitled to at least 6 billion ringgit in allocation annually for the two sectors, as 95% of oil royalty is under the cover of the federal government.
These two items, right, you're looking at the federal government need to give us back about 6 billion a year under these two. Roughly about that, And then apart from giving the power back, but they also need to give us money, because income tax collected by who? 95% of the oil royalty collected by who? And that's why we insist on taking it back.
Moreover, Dr. Sim said Sarawak now has the resources in governing and managing such matters. In the same development, Dr. Sim revealed that the candidates contesting for Lanang and Cebu Parliamentary for GE15 are still being finalised, adding that he has sought the advice of the Premier, Dato' Patinggi Tan Sri Abang Johari Tun Openg, on the matter. When asked to comment on the number of Sarawak United People's Party SUPP contesting in GE15, Dr. Sim, who is also the party's president, said it will be up to the decision of the branch and the candidate system.
Our system is the branches has to nominate someone first, and from there, that's how. And then we all the different agencies do assessment, and from there we come out to one, because there can only be one GPS candidate. Okay.
At present, Cebu Division is divided into two parliamentary seats, namely Lanang and Cebu, with voter ethnicity comprising Chinese, Iban and Malay Melanau. Both seats have been held by DAP with Cebu since 2010 by Oscar Ling Chai Yu, while Lanang has won by Alice Lau Kiong Yang of DAP since 2013. Police have successfully busted drug racket in two different locations in Betong, one that nestles in forested area along Jalan Tisa in Betong and another one at a house in Beladen. Sarawak Police Commissioner Dato' Muhammad Asman Ahmad Sapri said 21 suspects were arrested, including 3 women suspects aged between 18 to 54 years old in the June 18 operation. In the operation, an active drug nest in a forested area in Jalan Tisak was raided by the narcotics along with a house owned by a local suspect in Beladen. Initial urine tests found that 18 men and a woman were tested positive for methamphetamine.
Semakan kesemua suspek mendapati 4 suspek punya rekod jenayah lampau berkaitan kes dadah, manakala 2 orang lagi mempunyai rekod lampau kes dadah dan jenayah. Jumlah rampasan dadah jenis sabu dianggarkan bernilai 13,000 dan kesemua dadah yang dirampas itu boleh digunakan selama 661 orang penagih.
The police also seized cash amounting 7,488 ringgit and jewellery worth 27,988 ringgit. The case is being investigated under Section 39B of the Dangerous Drugs Act 1952, Section 12 in bracket 2 of the Dangerous Drugs Act 1952, Section 15 in bracket 1 subsection A of the Dangerous Drugs Act 1952 and Section 15 in bracket 1 subsection A of the Dangerous Drugs Act 1952. Similarly, Sarawak Narcotic Crimes Investigation Department also raided an entertainment outlet in Tabuan on June 15 and arrested 21 suspects, including 4 women between 20 to 50 years old, and drug seizure amounting to 37,419 ringgit.
Keseluruhan rampasan bernilai 37,000 iaitu 46 paket jus ekstasi bernilai 29,000, 150 biji pil Ermin 5 bernilai 2,000, 99 biji pil ekstasi bernilai 1,000 dan 25.23 gram ketamin bernilai 3,000.
In addition, the authorities also seized belongings worth 43,425 ringgit. The suspect is said to have obtained a supply of drugs from a local man and sold it to the patrons of the entertainment center. The case is being investigated under Section 39B of the Dangerous Drugs Act 1952. Coming up right after the break, vehicle sales tax exemption will end June 30th. Tears of a Child Bride, right here on TVS Nightline. Stay tuned. Welcome back. The vehicle sales tax exemption will expire by the end of this month. However, customers who have booked their vehicles during the exemption period will be given until March 31st, 2023 to register their vehicles with the Road Transport Department, JPJ. The extension, according to Finance Minister Datuk Sri Tengku Zafrul Abdul Aziz, was due to the overwhelming number of buyers who have yet to receive the vehicles they have booked. In a statement, Zafrul revealed that there are 264,000 units of vehicles that have not been delivered due to a worldwide microchip shortage, slowing down installation and supply to the buyers. The extension aims to balance the interests of consumers and national tax revenue, which needs to be re-enhanced following post-pandemic times. This will ensure resilience to the country's economy while caring for the welfare of the people simultaneously. As of today, a total of 868,442 units have been sold and buyers have benefited at about 4.7 billion ringgit from the sales tax exemption. The tax policy was introduced on passenger vehicles, MPVs and SUVs since June 15, 2020. To most girls, marriage is the epitome of happiness, the beginning of the family, and a lifelong commitment. The memories created on the wedding day are sure to be everlasting, from walking down the aisle to the first dance as husband and wife. But for hundreds of thousands of young girls across Sarawak, their weddings a far cry from happily ever after. Child marriage remains widely spread in Sarawak, with reports being among the states with the highest child marriage cases in the country. A total of 1,638 underage individuals got married in Sarawak from 2017 to 2020, where 500 of them were recorded as marrying underage according to Sharia or Islamic law, and 1,138 individuals were recorded marrying underage customarily. Here are 3 stories by individuals whose lives were irrevocably changed by marriage. In her own words, Amy, a pseudonym, a 13-year-old girl who hailed from Bintulu, was an orphan at a young age and was raised by her grandmother. Things turned downhill when her grandmother wasn't able to provide for herself and her 8 siblings. Amy instinctively knew that her poverty-driven had led her astray from her dreams and was left with very few choices, resulting in the child marriage.
Saya masih ingat lagi pada malam melah pinang. Saya buntu dan menangis, namun perkahwinan tetap dilangsungkan mengikut adat Iban.
However, her now husband wasn't able to provide for her family following her husband's dependency on alcohol. As a wife, Amy was deprived of her education and have to work odd jobs to make ends meet. She also said that the greatest loss as a result of this marriage was her freedom.
Sebenarnya, saya teringin untuk menyambung persekolahan dan masuk universiti. Namun, apabila sorakan hasrat itu kepada suami, dia langsung tidak bersetuju.
Meanwhile, another 15-year-old girl who only wants to be identified as Siti was a bright student until a turn of events when she conceived a child following a disgusted act by her father's friend where she was raped. Her family believed that by marrying her to her then 18-year-old boyfriend was her only option to save the family's image. She said no one asked her anything or confirmed with her if she was sure about getting married.
Akibat perbuatan lelaki itu, saya mengandung. Manakala keluarga sangat malu apabila mengetahui keadaan diri saya. Saya berterus terang dengan ayah mengenai perbuatan rakannya, tapi tak ada siapa yang percaya. Kehidupan saya sangat tertekan ketika itu dan akhirnya saya keguguran.
Whereas Tina, a 16-year-old, dropped out of school because she was pregnant. She quit school until her baby was born and life changed ever since. putting her education aside to care for her baby at home while her husband assumed the role of a father at a very young age of 17. Like many other young girls who became pregnant at a young age, getting married seemed to be the only way out for Tina to avoid the shame of early pregnancy.
Saya terlalu mengikut hawa nafsu pada usia yang sangat muda, iaitu ketika berada di tingkatan 3. Saya terlanjur dengan bekas tanaman lelaki hingga melahirkan anak. Mereka sangat marah dan berasa malu. Ibu bapa saya juga memaksa saya untuk berkahwin pada usia muda. Suami saya berusia 17 tahun pada ketika itu.
At the same time, Sarawak Women, Child Development and Community Welfare Minister Datuk Sri Fatimah Abdullah said child marriage is indeed a complex and complicated issue as it involves several jurisdictions of marriage law, culture and custom due to the characteristic of the Sarawak's plural society. She does not deny that the current statutes that allow girls below 18 years old to marry were among the factors leading to the high number of child marriages in Sarawak. To look at a bigger picture, Fatimah said teenage pregnancy was actually closely related to child marriage as most young girls with consent from parents decided to get married as they were already pregnant. Now on to some global affairs. Residents in the Sylhet region of Bangladesh are struggling to cope after they were hit with the worst monsoon flood in the country's recent history on Sunday. Monsoon rain swamped huge area of the country, leaving millions of homes underwater.
Highways became rivers, with people using boats to get around on what would normally be tarmac roads. Lorries and cars struggled on the roads, while journeys by rickshaw or motorbike proved to be too challenging for all but the bravest. Regional officials said about 3.1 million people were displaced, 200,000 of whom are staying in government-run makeshift shelters on raised embankments or on other highlands. Officials said the monsoon storms in India and Bangladesh have killed at least 59 people and unleashed devastating floods that left millions of others stranded. Bangladesh and India have experienced increasing extreme weather in recent years, causing large-scale damage. Environmentalists warn climate change could lead to more disasters, especially in low-lying and densely populated Bangladesh.
Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky said on Sunday that he expects Russia to intensify its attack on his country while Kiev awaits a European Union decision this week on granting Ukraine the status of a candidate country.
Варто очікувати від Росії посилення ворожої активності спеціально показово саме цього тижня. І не тільки проти України, але й проти інших країн Європи. Ми готуємось. Ми готові. Завтра починаємо.
Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky said on Sunday that he expects Russia to intensify its attacks on his country, while Kyiv awaits a European Union decision this week on granting Ukraine the status of a candidate country. The European Commission gave its blessings to the war-torn country on Friday, taking it a step closer to joining the European Union. It is the most dramatic geopolitical shift to result from Russia's invasion. Ukraine applied to join the EU just 4 days after Russian troops poured across its border in February. After failing to take the capital Kyiv early in the war, Russia's military has focused on trying to take complete control of Donbas, parts of which were already held by Russian-backed separatists before the February 24th invasion. Russian forces were trying to approach Kharkiv, which experienced intense shelling early in the war, and turn it into a frontline city.
Cancer is not the end of the road, it is just a bend in the road. Join Muiz Matili, a cancer advocate, on Sejahtera Asia tomorrow with hosts Jonathan Ding and Jessica Chung, 7:30 a.m. on TVS Astro Channel 122 and My Freeview. That's all the time we have for TVS Nightline. I'm Lorenzo Isaac. Good night.